allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm not able to project up there. One of you guys can project like the tax hearing stuff on there.
Okay, entertain approval of the agenda.
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Tax rate hearing.
All right, you guys have seen this and we've posted it. So as you can see, the assessed value went up this year. We had a lot of new construction, and it shows down there the additional new construction that, we received this year. And then personal property was the major increase, to our taxes. We were, as I said before, there's a calculation that the state auditor makes us go through that computes our tax levy. Usually if the assessed value goes up, like in a reassessment year, if it jumps up, the formula is designed to where it caps off how much you can increase. So what it does is it reduces your levy, but the assessed value itself, due to reassessment, didn't occur this year, so our levy stayed at $3.70 plus 20 cents in the debt service. So all in all, you can kind of see the difference in the revenue compared to last year, so that's a positive thing. Again, thanks to our, community support, because the majority of our funding comes from our community, and so that makes it possible for our teachers to be able to get paid, what they do. So, any questions on any of this? And this is using a 97% collection rate, so, and lately it's been running about 98%, so, and that's pretty high. A lot of counties struggle with getting people to pay their taxes, so, last 2 years we've run 98, so it's been good.
Okay, motion for approval of the tax rate.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Nicole?
Yes. Mrs. View,
Yes.
Mr. Parrish,
Yes.
Mrs. Devlin,
Yes.
Mrs. Jansen,
Yes.
Mr. Doss,
Yes.
Mr. Peevler.
Yes.
Mr. Beal is absent. Motion carries 6-0.
Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Parrish,
Yes.
Mrs. Devlin,
Yes.
Mrs. Jansen,
Yes.
Mr. Doss,
Yes.
Mr. Peevler,
Yes.
and Mrs. View.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Okay. Call the regular session to order. Entertain a motion for the approval of the revised agenda.
So I'll explain. The revision was, we were gonna have Navitas here talking about our next round of projects. But as far as the solar panels go, we have a couple more weeks because REC, who's our electric provider, have to run it through their engineers, so we're waiting on that information before we get Navitas here with, their amounts and everything. So they'll probably be here either September or October, to get those projects going. That's the revision part.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Approval of the minutes. The regular session held in the middle school commons at 6 p.m. on July 16th, 2024. Motion for approval of those minutes.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. The executive session held in the middle school commons at 7:06 p.m. on July 16th, 2024. Entertain a motion for approval of those minutes.
So moved.
Second.
All in
noticed on there the leftovers were actually this month's, PSR. When they sent the bill in, we needed them to break down the walk-in cooler and freezer and the, Clara Stories, walk-in cooler and freezer, because we applied for a $25,000 grant. And the Clara Stories because, when that glass broke, the insurance will cover part of that. So took a little longer, by the time we got the bill approved and everything, then she had already done the bills, so, so the leftovers is actually higher because PSR this time was 500 and some thousand, so if you looked at that and you're like, oh my gosh, what's this?
And then I noticed on the Amazon, I think, it was mistakenly the bills were put under the Amazon tab. Like the check, register by type, it's on there twice
Oh, you're
for
right,
August.
I didn't catch that. Let me see. I wonder how I did that. Nothing else going on. Let's see. I was gonna say, we'll come back to this and I'll find it in the meantime.
Is there any discussion, other discussion? So, entertain a motion to approve it with that correction.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed, motion carries 6-0. Citizens communications, there are none, we're ready for administrators' reports.
In the elementary, we're just trying to get ready. We did finally get to move out of Mr. Pippert's room down to our office, but it looks like a dumpster fire right now, cause everything's just kind of thrown in there, and then Sherry and I will get it organized and get it ready for open house tomorrow night for preschool. So, our goal tomorrow is to get that all completely, set up, so that when our families come in and we look like we're presentable, even if we're not 100% presentable, we at least look it. So we have pre-K open house tomorrow. We have kindergarten open house on Thursday, and then we have 1st through 5th grade, open house on Friday. All of those are from 6 to 7 o'clock. We break those out just because, like, our preschool families, that's their first time. They have lots of questions. They want to be able to talk to the teacher for a little bit. Kindergarten, we used to actually do that one in May. But then by the time that August rolls around, you've forgotten, you know, or it's like, what did we talk about in May? So we have started doing that, in the fall. It seems to go over really well. And then 1-5 is still the traditional open house, come in and, see your teacher, drop off supplies, and come and go as you want. This year, our enrollment, as of right now, we have enrolled a lot of kids this summer. So full day preschool through 5th grade, we have 250 students. Throw in our half day kids and we're at 270, so.
That's from what, from last year, you got the numbers in your head?
Last year, I wanna say that we're up probably 10 to 12 kids, so. I mean, great problem to have. Our 4th grade group is really big. We have 45 4th graders this year. So 23 in one class, 22 in the other. So that's a big group of kids. Our kindergarten is at like 39, 1st grade's at 39. So great problems to have. So 3rd grade's our smallest group. We have about 26 in 3rd grade. Otherwise, we average mid-30s to 4th grade being the outlier at 45. So, we're just getting ready for open houses, getting ready to see all of our kids, so we'll be ready to start. It just, if you went down there right now, you'd be like, are you sure you're ready to start? But tomorrow would be a totally different story, so, that's all that we have going on.
Well, if you go to her building and you think, is it really ready to start, and then you go into the high school, you're gonna really think it's ready. So, we have not been able to move any classrooms back. We're waiting, hopefully we can get, the fax room into the sewing room opened up and get the kids in there by the first day. That's the plan with that, and the kids have been working really hard. I know our custodial staff's been all over the place, eagerly waiting to get things going, so, you know, we're excited to finally get to put it all in place, and it's kind of been hectic all summer long, but we're excited about what's coming there. Tomorrow, we have iPad rollout from 2 to 7 in the gym. That's for 6 to 12, grades 6 through 12. Sixth grade orientation tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Freshman orientation tomorrow night at 7 p.m. And then I'll give an update on, I guess we have an enrollment around 232 right now, last time I looked. So we've had a few move in and I think 1 or 2 move out. So it's trying to get kids placed and find the right classrooms, and we've had to do some assessments on some students moving back into the district and different things like that. Football jamboree is on at 6 o'clock on Friday at Schuyler County. Varsity football has 19 kids out. Varsity softball has 13. We're hoping next year that we start back up with the jamboree, softball jamboree. A few years ago when we went to 8-man football, we was going to South Shelby, and they kind of like to go with the schools that go into their football jamboree, and we kind of got we got booted out, I guess, or they went in different directions, be polite. So next year, it's gonna start on rotation with the exact same football jamboree, so it'll be Schuyler County, Paris, North Shelby, and Knox. So we'll all rotate the same, they'll play at the same spots, the way I understand it. So football and softball jamborees will be located at the same school. Varsity cross country, 4 kids out. Varsity cheerleading, we have 10. High school band, 29. High school flags, 4. And choir, there's 25 signed up. The first softball game will be September 3rd at North Shelby. Band will go, the Corn Fest Parade on September 7th will be our first marching. And cross country will go to the Highland Charge in Canton on September 10th. Any questions?
Charge.
The Highland Charge at Canton, at the golf course.
Got it, got it.
She has on here that she has none. She had to leave to go pick up a couple of things, that's Kisha's not here, so she has written on here none.
So we usually don't have reports from you guys, but
Right.
with all the construction, it's like giving you guys something to talk about. So we'll see what we can do next summer. So I have a few things. First off, the Amazon thing's on there, I fixed it. I just attached the home report, so. Thursday mornings, all the staff are coming back and we have that breakfast. So if any of you guys are able to be here, we introduce all the staff. It's a good time to get to see everybody. We understand if you can't make it, but it's at 8 o'clock in the large gym. It's a full breakfast. Love to have you there if you're able to be there. Thursday morning at 8 o'clock. The start of the year is gonna be a little tricky. So the elementary is gonna be somewhat operational. The only thing that won't be in yet is the ballistic glass. So they'll have to keep the most outer doors locked and just let people in until we get the glass in, but the glass should be here sometime next week, so we're just talking a few days, and maybe it'll be here Monday, we don't know. Once that's in, the elementary will be pretty much finished up down there. Right now in the offices, there's some touch-up work that they're gonna do as soon as everything's been moved in case the walls get scratched up or something, so they'll do that. The high school front entrance is not gonna be ready, so we're still gonna have that blocked off in the front. We'll have to use the far drive. So basically, we're gonna start off the school year with the same routines that we did at the end of the school year last year, using the far drive, the buses dropping all the students off, high school students off at the end of the sidewalk. As a matter of fact, we're gonna keep that, because that was so much easier to monitor when they come in those doors. And the elementary being dropped off there, and then parent pickup after school is gonna be behind the middle school until we get that finalized. Hopefully, it won't be too far after school starts that they'll be done. The fact that they started drywalling today and that crew moves pretty fast, does pretty good work. I anticipate that high school offices will be ready pretty soon here, so kind of hopeful like in the next 2 weeks, we'll be moving some people in, so we'll see. The kitchen, walk-in cooler and freezer should be here by the end of the week, and hopefully all that be ready to go. So we'll be able to feed the kids, cook the food, feed the kids in the cafeteria. We might just have to shuffle some kids around if they're working on sections of the glass in that clerestory, but we've got plans in place and we're ready to open, but I'll kid you not, there's for quite a while there, I was nervous that I was gonna have to send out a message saying we can't start till after Labor Day, and that was not gonna be popular. Your phones would have been ringing off the wall, and so I'm glad I don't have to do that. And I might have handed in a letter saying I'm retiring at the end of the year, so.
Good thing we can reject that. So how far behind are we, like, just straight across the board, like, what's, like,
So-
as far as according to schedule?
It's kind of hard to, so August 7th is when the front entrances were supposed to be ready and ready to move in. So if you think about it, right, August 7th, right? So I'm gonna let Matt and Joe, they're with Navigate, and they're overseeing our projects. I'm gonna let them talk because they have a lot more information, so.
Yeah, good to see everybody. It's been a little while.
I don't know if you guys have met Joe, he,
I do.
he works for Navigate, they've been here every week and checking on the progress, and so they can give you a better update of what's going on.
Yeah, Andy kind of gave some good highlights. I think with the elementary school, there were several weeks ago, probably, I'd say middle of July, in early July, we really could see that there was certain areas that just weren't gonna be done in time. So we really put a focus on what are the priorities that, we need to steer the contractor to focus on. The school has to have come day one. Primary focus was getting the elementary school entrance opened up, because that's always been the temporary entrance until the new entrance can be complete. So once we figure that out, the elementary school, which is, like you said, they're moving into it. There's some punch items that the contractor's trying to correct. They're gonna be installing the grills and the ceilings. Right now they're tucked up above the ceiling, which might be why you feel the temperature a little off in
It's
there.
hot in there.
Yeah, so next couple days, they said they had the grills, they're gonna get them in tomorrow. So they're gonna be dropping those in. The ballistic glass, they had a material supply issue with that, and that's not shipping till next week, I think, and so hopefully it shows up. If not, it'll be the week right after. I think for temporary means is to utilize those exterior doors as your primary entrance, security. But once that glass is installed, you can use that vestibule as it's intended. But really, those are the primary components that still aren't finished with the elementary. I think as I'm looking at the fire alarm, there's a few devices in there that still have to be installed. So moving into facts, I think we identified, other than the kitchen was, we just had to get the floor done in that back storage area, so they completed that. The kitchen is back in its order. The fax sewing room was kind of the next area that I think we identified as a priority. The sewing room will be available, they're telling us by Monday, or actually Thursday, end of this week. So fax teacher can move into that space. The rest of the fax room for kitchen equipment is installing all that equipment come
Thursday they'll be here.
start installing. So by Monday, they're saying they're gonna have that room, kitchen equipment, the casework will start get installed. By Wednesday of next week, we'll be able to punch that room out. So the architect, us will be here, we'll be able to punch the room out, essentially allowing the you guys to move into that space. So I think the temporary means is gonna be, you know, set up in the sewing room, and then the fax room will follow the following week. That was, you know, other than that, the clerestory windows, the cafeteria, they're installing the lights, the can lights are in, the floor's in, the clerestory glass is what is now gonna start being installed come tomorrow. They're actually loading the roof with the frames and then the glass. Once they start the frames, it'll take them a few days to install the frames, then they'll come in with their glass and then pull that plywood off. Glazing, you know, that clerestory will be complete. They're looking at probably a week to 2 weeks to get that installed, so coordinating logistically and keeping it safe while they're installing the glass, I think we're working that out with you all and the contractor to just make sure.
How to divert people for that.
Yeah, so, and in talking to the glass guys today, like for example, where the microcheck's at, it's kind of hard to block that section off because they walk by there, so they would work to put that section in between breakfast and lunch or after lunch when everybody's, so we can block that section off. But it'll be a coordination thing, and then if they can do it on a Saturday and it works out that it's doable on a Saturday, that's not been ruled out, so depending on when the glass gets here.
Yeah, they said, from the time they field measure the openings, once the frames are in, 1 to 2 weeks for the glass to be delivered and installed. Once that glass is on site, it should take them 2 to 3 days to install that glass.
They field measured the east and west ends last Monday, so that glass should be pretty close to being ready.
Right on their tail. So obviously there's some overlap with start of school coming next week. But ensuring with the contractor that we have, you know, safety of the students at top priority of, you know, when they're installing anything, they need to be coordinating that with the school and barricading off areas that they still need to work in. The clerestory in the library, that'll most likely follow, actually the front entrance, so I think we've deemed that as kind of the last area after the admin space is complete. But they're gonna continue working on the clerestory, it's just kind of right now it's housing some of the material that they're gonna use for the front admin, spaces. So that's gonna lag behind a few weeks, until we get that front entrance area done. The front entrance is the longest, or actually I'll back up. The kitchen expansion, they're sealing the floor, and they were cleaning it, so I think they're sealing the floor tomorrow. They'll start installing the cooler and freezer, this week, so the cooler freezer will be, installed. They'll be setting all the rooftop units, Monday, and Brick Mason is wrapping up the parapets up on the roof. So it's dried in, we'll have all the mechanical equipment fired up by next week. And so I think that timeframe of the start of school and when those units will be operational will be pretty close. We're planning to punch that space also Wednesday, with the architect. So we're trying to get, and the ramp going down to the drive will be poured tomorrow. And then they have some sidewalks that gotta wrap up next week. So that's the kitchen area. The front entrance is gonna be the longest path to be complete. The roofer is up there today. They started yesterday. They got another day or two, to get the roof completely dried in. Good weather this week. As Andy said, the drywaller is drywalling on the inside, and insulating, so that inside space is gonna, you know, start coming together. We can move that, into that space just after they're done with that, so that space is probably in that, you know, 3 to 4 week time period of getting that ready so that we can then jump into moving the rest of the schedule that they updated for us yesterday. We got an updated schedule, showed by the time they're done with their front entrance, we got the support area, wrapped up. We're still looking at end of October, to middle of November for everything to be, once we do all the transitioning of the offices, and get the boardroom, completed, probably in that November timeframe.
So, middle of September probably for the front entrance, which would be the last piece in the library. And then we can't touch like my current office area, we couldn't touch that until we moved, so. And those projects were always scheduled to be in October completion. So, back to your question, it was what, August 7th was the completion date for?
August 7th was their contractual completion date. One thing, we tried to get some more response out of the contractor was, we did write a letter notifying them of that, and that the school district would like to reserve their right for enforcing any liquidated damages. That letter was written last Friday, and I think come Monday, they doubled their forces with electricians, a mechanical contractor, the roofer. So I think that helped to really encourage them to get done as fast as they can.
I guess my question is the delay all on the contractors, or is there
That-
behind the scenes that that we're not seeing as a
No,
group
it's-
or anybody else?
It's definitely,
On the
not-
engineer
not
side or the
just-
architect
right,
side?
it's, when we look at delays, you're either a delay by one of really 3 or 4 things. It's contractor's delay, you have a design issue that's causing a delay, or you have an unforeseen condition, or it could be just an older added scope, right? So I think in the case of this project, we're seeing that we have all of those. We have design issues. We have also contractor concurrent delays. They had issues with their mason at the beginning with some manpower. They've had issues with the decking, getting decking on the front entrance. So there's that kind of stuff with design. We've had missing details that have caused some delays with the loading dock area for the kitchen expansion. We've had some issues with the rooftop units in the fax room and just not having space in the actual corridor for getting all the components down into the fax area. So that caused quite a bit of rework and redesign, and ultimately some schedule impacts. So to say it's all contractor, I can't stand here and tell you that it is related to 100%, the contractor. There has been some unforeseens. The month of July also had more than its adverse weather. We've had quite a bit of rain in July. That's its own kind of component with their contract. The contract says they own weather up to a certain point that they did experience a lot of rain in the month of July, which held up some of these exterior entrances from getting complete.
There's some inside stuff to
Yeah.
continue on, right? Or it was, it wasn't like it was a stop and show.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, but like last week's rain, roofers couldn't do the roof,
Right.
which held up the drywall
Yeah, it
in
all
front,
trickled
so
down.
it kinda trickled there,
Mhm.
so.
I guess my question is, why wasn't the letter sent sooner? I mean, why did we wait till we're already behind the ball here?
There,
I mean, we're hearing it from the public, so, I mean, that's my concern.
yeah, so I think in general, when we understood that they were gonna have issues back in July, we kept pushing for revised schedules, to be updated and presented. So we would go through a schedule, update, and then it really was just, are you gonna hold to this schedule? Are there any other issues that are happening? So they've been put on notice, even though necessarily a letter, they were put on notice that, hey, you're behind your schedule, the contract says you have to be no more than 5 days behind schedule before you should provide a recovery schedule, so that kept kind of pushing that, and they would come back saying, well, we could be complete, but we've got some design issues. So we've kind of been weighing, the design issues with their own concurrent delay issues. And so ultimately, it comes down to what can we do before the start of school, and then what recourse does it have, if we're not complete. Those are discussions that we're having. I think
Towards the end of this, will there be like kind of a breakdown of like, okay, obviously this didn't go according to schedule, according to plan of what went wrong, what we can do differently, because obviously we have other projects coming up, and to understand the value or who to go with and different choices and stuff like that in the future. I mean, I think I would love to see, hey, what do we learn from, and what we can do differently if we, on the next time. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. We've just already been tracking some of those items, internally, just on, what's caused us to, get to this point. So definitely do summarize all that. We can present that to the board as well.
So the scope, the overall scope itself, like, really hasn't had a lot of creep, right, from our acts and the original plans as far as the way it was bid, the way it was designed. Like, we weren't at the driving any of that scope creep, correct?
Yeah, everything was included in those alternates. We added the alternates, which were like the Claire story stuff, so that was all known, as a part of the original schedule, so. I mean, there's probably just been a very minor amount of like, yeah, let's go ahead and change like the grills out in the elementary school, but that's
Very
not
minor,
yeah.
probably expected in most cases, to a certain extent.
The bigger attributes are gonna be, design related or current delay related items, and that's what we gotta analyze and figure out where things, started back up.
To get back to your question of when we start this actually navigate, Corey asked me probably a month ago, you want me to send this letter, and I said, I've been here every day, and I've watched these contractors have to hold off on what they're doing because the engineers didn't include something in the steel work up front. So I have a hard time sitting here saying, we're gonna fine you for every day, when I've witnessed, I've looked at the plans myself, and there's a lot of details missing. So like, I have my list, I can give you a list of what we need to do different next time, but,
That's important to know. I mean, I feel like.
so I'm like, okay, if I'm gonna tell the contractors $1,500 a day in liquidation damages, I want the engineers and the architects have to play a role in that as well.
Some of it, yeah.
And so at that point, they started having conversations with trying to dig through is like, what all has been held up, and so I know they've been working on that. But this week, Corey called me back and he said, what do you think about sending? I said, and the explanation was, we understand PSR is there every day and doing as much as they can, but he could use it as leverage for the subcontractors. And so they sent it out, and by God, I'll tell you what, that was quite the leverage, because Monday morning, roofing guys, brick guys, all of a sudden, subcontractors that couldn't get enough help to work are here in big numbers. So I wished I would have went ahead, but the reason I had said no, because I'm like, it's not just their responsibility. I mean, we have 19, am I right, 19 revisions in this whole project. And we're not just talking small revisions. So every time you have a revision, it has to get submitted. Then the engineers take a day or 2 or 3 before they get back and approve it. And they send it back to the contractors. Then you gotta order some steel. And it just slows everything down. So,
Is the liquidated damages only limited to the contractors?
well, it's,
I mean, that can't be
It,
right.
it is in the it's only in the contractor's contract, but if the contractor has a cost impact because of a delay due to design, that's where we can then go back to the design team and say, well, they're claiming they had additional GCs or, scope, for these extras, that's now cause penalties. We're gonna have to talk about how we're sharing that.
To your original question, we started up this post-mortem with this root cause analysis, and tracking all of these cost items or schedule items and assigning them a root cause. Even discussing that with the architect and the engineer to get their take on it, to see if they think it's valid in their court or the contractor's work. So we are tracking that. And we can put together a summary later on.
Yeah, so the liquidated damages would have to start with the contractor, and the contractor can then take that claim and subject it to this, that, or the other, if it's not them.
Yeah, we need them to like formally provide, what's caused the delay, and be specific to, it was because of this change in the design. And so we can definitely start going down that route with PSR. We've kind of already been adding that internally in the background. But yeah, it really just, it comes down, every job's a little different, and every owner's a little different on how they wanna, go down what path, for claim essentially, so. We're here to be your guys' support, advocate, whatever path, we all decide to go down. But yeah, I think it's gonna be a little bit of both. Both means. But yeah, I mean, to Andy's point, PSR back when we originally were talking in July about being behind, PSR did step up and start working overtime and Saturdays just to try to, on their end, without charging the owner for extra overtime costs. They took those costs on themselves, to try to catch back up as much as they can. That's been going on for 5 to 6 weeks now.
Yeah. Just, I think having that summary of knowing that root cause, driving it back, and just for nothing else than learning for, choices that we may have to make next time. So we got, multiple other projects potentially, in our future, so.
does have any other questions for them? The only other thing is the bus driver's break room may or may not be ready for the start of the school year. That contractor's been kind of scattered. But it's coming along.
We gotta get him some liquidated damages too. It's in his contract.
I will retire. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, move on to unfinished business, there's no items, new business, LJ Hart lease purchase resolution.
Alright, so that's, I don't know if that's a good or bad lead into this section of the meeting, but basically we met with LJ Hart about potential funding for projects moving forward that would start as soon as fall of 2024. A majority of them would be completed during the summer of 2025. Many of them are projects that we've talked about, and this would incorporate Navitas, which Mr. Turgeon has talked about at several meetings. Alright, so the beginning of this, the lease purchase project starts with the Claire story. So if you remember back in February, the clerestory in the library, we had a broken glass, so the glass was broken, it fell on the table. Luckily for us, there was no students there at that time, and it ended up being something where we could evaluate what steps we wanted to take to get that fixed and make sure our school's safe for all of our students. During that process, we decided that we were gonna go ahead and do that during this round of projects rather than do it later, which we had talked about. So, what our options are for that, because that was something that we use our fund balances now instead of later on, we're able to basically repay ourselves through a lease purchase through LJ Hart, to basically use that money and repurpose it for other projects. We talked about several other projects that would help we could accomplish with that money throughout the time. So one would be finishing a lot of the work at the elementary playground. So there would be a retaining wall that we would we would build to help keep the material in place, fencing, a sidewalk for ADA accessibility to all the different parts of the elementary. We also elementary playground, as well as softball and baseball batting cages. The next part of those projects would be the projects that we use through Navitas.
The batting cages though, can I lobby to get that centralized? I think Andrew or somebody brought that up last time, between the two fields. Is there, I'm not real familiar with the landscape there, but could that be, so it's not necessarily at the, it's at the baseball field now, you know?
Middle.
Does the landscape allow?
Yeah, we had looked at that. We don't have plans specifically. We talked to, I can't remember, Brom out of Scotland, and he had some numbers for us, but this was
So this is really preliminary, I mean,
Yeah.
this is gonna happen through the 25 is I guess my question.
Yeah, see, before, we had some fund balances in Fund 40, to do things like this, like finish the playground.
Yeah.
And that's why I said, after we get this and know we're not spending a ton more money on these projects, things like the batting cages and all that. Well, when we did the clerestories, like you said, we spent that money.
Right.
So this would allow us to put these projects back in there so that we can get them done. Maybe it's this winter that we can get it done, so it's ready for baseball season. It won't be ready for softball.
Right.
As far as between the fields, I just brought that up last
Yeah,
week,
maybe it was you or
so
something.
we didn't incorporate that or have anyone look at that, but I mean, we have lots of land here. I think we can surely come up with a way to
A
put that
centralized
between the
location or
fields.
something, yeah.
Or just, if we already got one, just add another one. You know what I mean, like the infrastructure, I would just be, like, we look at cost perspective of it, but you have one that's already there, right? You have the foundations and that stuff's
Well,
there.
except that, last time they were here, they were gonna redo the whole foundation.
Yeah, so they were going to add on pier or basically sink posts. Last time they just
Okay.
bolted them to the concrete, and obviously that wasn't strong enough, and
Right.
whenever the weather and everything was
We're gonna redo
pulling
the
on,
whole
they fell
thing.
down.
Okay.
So to redo that one, it was about half the price of building a brand new one.
Yeah.
But that was in that location is right now. I don't know about dirt work and all that stuff would take to redo it over between the fields, but I mean, definitely something like that, because it would be a lot easier for softball if you didn't have to go up there.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good option to consider.
All right, so basically that replenish our funds, be able to do the projects that we've talked about, that, you know, with the player store being completed earlier than we had projected. That was something to look at. All right, so the next part of this is going to be, the Navitas process. So basically, the first part was just a preliminary analysis through Navigate, or Navitas, sorry, and they just looked at what projects we'd want to do and kind of gave us an idea of what that would look like. The step we just completed was the investment grade audit. So what they did is they looked at all the different pieces to the projects that we're looking at. And they are LED lighting, it'd be weatherization, it'd be window replacements in the elementary, it'd be ceiling tile replacements, and then the solar array for the school district. They went through and looked at all these different projects and looked at potential savings that we could use to use that money to pay for the project down the road, and kind of give us an idea of what it actually costs up front versus how much we'd save long term. And then their projects, they would go through these different parts of the project implementation, savings, measurement, and verification, and then their guaranteed savings process. That would be, these are just estimates at this point. And again, these are the projects that they've looked at, so they went through and did an evaluation of potential savings through being more efficient with our energy, and then gave us a report of what that would look like with their current numbers. And here they are currently. So as you look through this, it has all the different projects there on the left, and then in that first column where it says energy savings, that's the annual savings we would receive. I can't really zoom in. So lighting retrofits, for instance, so transitioning from the T12, Mr. Turgeon, to LED.
Most of them are T8s,
T8s.
LED.
To LED, so a big jump there in efficiency. So annually, we'd save about $13,000 a year from that that change. The next big weatherization would be about $1,400. The next big one would be the solar array, which would save about $9,000 annually. So if you add that all up in that first column, that'd be about $23,784 a year saved through saving energy. You can kind of go across there to, there's other funding resources that are available to schools now. So just newly added, or rebates available to school districts for adding solar. So basically that rebate is given out at the federal level is anywhere between 40 to 60% of the actual budget. So for us, they kind of estimated that would be about 50% of the project. So if you look at solar array and then the project cost, that's about $244,000. They estimated us at 50% of that total, which would save us about a one-time rebate of $122,000. So that again is going to take off the total sum of what the project would cost. That's a range, 40 to 60. They assume that we'd be on the higher end, closer to 60, just because of where we are with our being rural. But that's just, they did it in the middle. So they'd save about $122,000. They're also a grant we received. They did that audit. It cost $20,000. We'll receive a grant to replay it and pay us for that. So another $20,000 off the top of that. So kind of just looking at the numbers currently, it would cost about $890,000 to complete all the projects. A lot of times they look at the scope of the project and savings that go out about 25 years. So if you just do the math, $24,000 a year over 25 years equates to about $600,000. So our initial savings just off of energy would be $600,000, and then with the grant and then the rebate, it'd be close to $740,000. So the $890,000 amount, sorry, I should have this on there. $890,000 amount minus the $740,000 potential savings over that 25-year span. The project would cost us about $150,000 if you look at the energy savings as well as a rebate and a grant that we could receive through the federal government. All right, so how are we gonna finance this, or how are we gonna pay for it? So there's two different options that we looked through LJ Hart: a 10-year lease purchase and a 15-year lease purchase. And this kind of just sums it up. Obviously, the 15-year loan, or lease purchase, would be a lower payment annually than the 10-year loan, but we paid off faster than the 10-year loan, obvious, right? So that kind of gives you a projection of what it would be annually for us to pay. So in that average annual payment there for the 10-year loan to be about $167,000 a year. In the 15-year loan to be $118 on average. It kind of ranges there about $2,000 by year, but for the most part, that would be the average cost per year for us to complete the project over those different terms. Just kind of looking at, as we talk through the process and look at what we should do and what best sets us up for the future, the recommendation would be look at the 15-year loan, or lease purchase, looking at the 15-year lease purchase because it provides the most flexibility for the school district moving forward, as the price would be lower per year, and then we have the opportunity to pay this off in 5 years if we need to. So if we're able to increase our funding down the road, it allows us to pay this off and make decisions of what we want to do with that money moving forward.
It's my question, the solar was a big part of this, right? The cost of it. Do they warranty, is there any warranty with that stuff? I mean, the product and pieces and all that?
Yeah.
Okay.
How many? 25.
So like
Yeah.
basically like the payment terms to keep that investment.
Yeah.
The cost of issuance here of $51,000, does that change? Is it just a flat fee, meaning
It's just a flat
it doesn't
fee.
change when we pay it off? It's not less than
No,
$5.
it's included in that
Okay.
cost. In a lease purchase, we have to have a hearing like we did tonight for the tax levy, so it'll be posted in the newspaper. And then the reason it's 1.2, like he said, it's refinancing or replenishing some of the fund balances that we used up for the clerestories, so that we can use that for the batting cages and finishing up around the playgrounds. And just so you know, I told him, I I say, here you go, this is your deal, this is a great way for you to start and learn about it. So we'll work on it together, but I told him, you know, he's gonna be the one to see this through completion, so, I think he's done a great job as getting this kind of going.
There won't be any tax increase or nothing like that?
That's my
right,
No.
right.
Lease purchase, so we'll.
That's what I assumed, yeah, there's no, it wouldn't even have to get voted on, right, by the county?
Just school board.
No, just school board.
Right, just here, yeah.
And probably this would, for this thing here, all you guys are approving is a resolution for them to say, okay, part of this money is to pay for the Clara stories that we approved. And so that money will allow us to do the other things. But then in October, they'll come here and that's when they'll present the lease purchase to you guys. There'll be a bunch of paperwork to sign. 2 weeks before that, we'll have to put it in the paper, for 2 weeks and then, just act on it at a board meeting. So that'll be the process. So probably a good idea for Navitas to wait, come present in October so that we approve this first and then.
And just for clarity, we're not committed to Navigate or anything else, right? Yet.
Navigate that we're here or
Yes,
Navitas?
Navigate.
They've kind of helped us out with this project just because they're on board here, but whenever you guys are like, okay, we're done.
Well, I'm just saying, like, understanding that, like, if we vote on this, it doesn't mean that Navigate,
No,
it's gonna be with or necessarily 100% through.
Navigate's a task thing,
Right, it's
so.
by project.
Yeah,
Yep.
everything they've done so
Making sure.
far is like you guys have approved to.
Yes.
And when we did Navitas at first, they were hired to work with Navitas to make sure all this gets figured out. But once the construction starts, that'll be another, and you can say, well, we don't need you or whatever. We wanna go a different direction
Okay.
at that point. So it's each task.
Right.
Do you wanna be hired back to like, to be the person that oversees future construction?
It's funny because some of the subcontractors around here, they're like, you need to be a construction manager or whatever. No,
No,
no, thank you.
it's not very much of a retirement plan to go into something like that.
Just to be clear, if all this is approved, if we decide to approve all that, then the Clara story, the playground, the batting cages, and the energy is all included in this.
The amount is going to be the $890 for the Navitas projects and then the repaying us toward the other stories.
Okay.
It's gonna replenish our fund balances, and if the sidewalk and retaining wall and batting cage costs us $382,000, we've got issues.
Okay,
We got bigger
there's
ones.
plenty to come
Yeah.
back in.
Yes,
to
yes,
cover this
because
if we
there
choose
may
to.
be some
Yeah.
other things where like, okay, let's do
Right.
this, let's do
Right.
that, so.
Okay, just, that was my question, so.
Yeah.
Be a hell of a nice batting cage.
Don't even think about it. We're not-
No, I can't imagine how you'd even spend that much money on a batting cage, unless it's air conditioned. I don't know. I don't know. Put some top golf, like tracer technology or something.
Yeah. Yes, we need to approve the resolution.
Entertain a motion for approval of the resolution.
Do you think this is the next best bang for our buck? I mean, I know there's been other things, but like, I know we went through the scope of like, cause this is the value add here is over a long term. It's gonna actually save us money, so I feel like this is probably the best next thing to do.
I mean, your lighting alone is gonna be more than 25 years.
Yeah.
It's not gonna stop at 25 years, so
Right.
really, over the course of time, this project pays itself back.
Yep. Takes a while.
Replace some things like the windows and the drop ceiling that are in bad shape, even in elementary are green, so
Yeah.
it's just.
And when they do the energy audit, they value it on the safe side because they're held accountable
Sure.
to
The
afterwards, they have to show. So they flat out tell you, we air this on the low side, so most of the time it's higher than that. So,
Judge for motion. So moved. Second.
All in favor?
How is the roof in the elementary? Still having issues or?
It will occasionally leak. The problem with it is that because it's drift, and then it finally fell. But it wasn't necessarily right above that where the water was coming in, so, I mean, we do have though, like, if you go down, like, you would've come down at the end of last week, we have some tiles that had fallen. Now, whether that's from rain, or if that's from the condensation from the air conditioning units, it's kind of hard to tell sometimes, but, I mean, we do still have ceiling tiles that will start to drip, and we get the trash can out, and just kind of avoid that space. But what they tell me every time is that it's flat. We don't know if it's on the north end of the building or the south end of the building, and they'll go up there and they'll look around, but it's really hard to tell. So, I mean, we do have the occasional leak, but sometimes it is
The majority of
air
it's
conditioning,
been
condensation.
HVAC, and what we're finding out, like, I take you guys around, you'll notice that all the ductwork for this HVAC is all insulated. They're insulating as it goes. You open up any ceiling tiles in the elementary, when they built that, nothing's insulated. And right now, it's been really bad because
Where it was trying to combat the heat
there's heat
from
coming in
waking up from
through
the hole
the
in the brick
spaces that are
wall,
working.
and so-
And so there's air conditionings are sweating big time. So that's something that Gary and I talked about. We need to start insulating some of these units and getting that done, so. But yeah, that's the majority. We have had some leaks. Now, if you're referencing back years ago, remember we had to spray the seams on that tin because it's been installed wrong. So we had all that's addressed it, but not to say we don't have leaks here and there every now and then that we have to chase and figure out where they're at.
Yeah, I would agree. I would say the majority of it is like the condensation just builds up and has nowhere to go, so. Typically, like, doesn't really fall down in the classrooms, it's the hallway, like where the units are. But again, it's not like it just, we catch it before it's gonna fall and falls in a trash can, but. I mean, we still have some things.
So I'll move on to program services evaluations, counseling at risk.
In front of everybody?
Absolutely.
You banner white without a presentation? Yeah. Do you want to first? Sure, I will. So I was gonna pass out a little newsletter that my regional director makes. So, part of the newsletter, it showcases Knox County. It also compares some data from Missouri for the Root Ed program, which is the grant that helps fund the College and Career Advisor program. Some things we were down on a little bit this year. One was, we had a senior that just ended up not graduating, but they wouldn't let us take, and we knew ahead of time, so we couldn't take him out of the system. So, instead of hitting 100%, we got 97% for, things like creating a financial plan, having a post-secondary plan. We have lower FAFSA numbers, but we have less students who are interested in going to college. But it also met the average for all the other Root Ed schools in Missouri. So our biggest success, we had less students going to college this year compared to last year, but our numbers for scholarships went from $345,000 in scholarship money awarded to $678,597. So less students. But I think one thing that was very helpful, that we need some improvements, we put our local scholarships on a portal called My Scholarship Central. And so it wasn't just our scholarships, but they had access to other Missouri scholarships. And the one thing we didn't like about it, it didn't like separate like a Chamber of Commerce application from Citizens Bank. So we're going to hope to be able to change that, but that one-stop site, I think, was useful. It was handy. I liked it. So, does anybody have any questions about the data they see on the newsletter? And you can see our decision day. This last year we combined decision day with our senior night, so it just, instead of just kiddos that are getting, money for college or getting awards for graduation, it was to recognize all seniors. And we had some that attend and parents who
wouldn't have otherwise had that opportunity, so they were pretty excited about it, so. Thought it worked well that way.
I like that you put that in the paper this year. I thought that brought you a lot more people. It's nice.
So some things any other questions? Some improvements are things we added last year from the first year I did this, is we brought back the senior mock interviews. And so I think that was a good opportunity and experience, trying to get those kids to get those resumes made and just have that, that experience. We also brought back ACT prep night to help the kids prepare for that ACT test. And the ACT is going to be changing a little bit. They're talking about taking science out and actually making it shorter and less questions and time, so. You're gonna talk about pre-ACT, right? No, okay. All right, we're also talking about adding the pre-ACT as an option for students to take. We were talking about maybe doing that as your freshman year. So freshmen would take that test, 10th grade would take the ASVAB, 11th graders would take the ACT, and then the work keys their senior year. So there's some sort of kind of assessment tool that we can measure and see where students are. The pre-ACT, the value of that, besides giving them a little picture of the ACT, would also be that they can use that towards A+ money, because to get your A+ money, you have to score advanced or proficient on the algebra EOC, or have a certain placement on the math part of the ACT. The higher your GPA, the lower your ACT can be, but if you've ever taken the ACT, it's just or you had a child, it's a fun time. So we're just trying to give another opportunity for those kiddos to have those dollars, because a lot of them really depend on those. So some of our kids get Pell Grants. A lot of our kiddos will get full Pels that may or may not pay for their community college experience, but then the A+ money should fill that in, or like some students, the A+ is paying for most of their tuition. There's some program fees that don't get covered. Like my daughter, she has a $600 bill for this semester for her college. So I mean, that's not counting housing, but $600 is a lot better than $3,000. So we also last year brought back the advisory council, where we met with people in the community and just talked about our programs and showcased our programs and talked about what we did, and we're hoping to include that and maybe have more meetings this next year.
No, it was just a great opportunity to get community stakeholders together and just kind of give us some feedback on what we need to be incorporating within the program. Beth Schrag came, along with her, and Pastor Burton came, and they gave us a lot of good insight on just the referral processes for mental health services or any sort of services within the community. So we have worked on that and have been implementing a new referral system.
I continue to try to increase opportunities, so students aren't just having college opportunities, but we usually go to John Woods Community College, their health day. We also usually have been going to their workforce development or their industry-based programs. We also added Whiteman Air Force Base last year. We went to NAPHI that had a tour for students, and they were interested in hiring students for the summer even, and then beyond. We had an opportunity to go to the National Guard Mission Day. It was in Mexico, Missouri. We ended up having, sadly, to cancel it, but our recruiter's hoping to bring that program closer to us this year. So it's a simulation just to show some of the things they could learn in the Guard, and then the Guard can help pay for school. I also know that because that's how Matthew paid for part of his college. So we also visited Mizzou, so a lot of kids were really excited about that one. We visited State Fair Community College. We have students that are really interested in dental hygiene, and so they have a program there. They have some other programs that are very valuable as well, but that seemed to be the popular one, so we visited their health day. And Indian Hills also has a dental hygiene program, but students can't use their A+ money there, so we took a trip to State Fair, which is 3 hours away. The year before we did State Tech, so it kind of alternated there. Some things I hope to do this year, My first year, I had some career speakers just come to the library, invited the students, and we tried to put some career speakers like in the classroom. Mrs. Llewellyn, our LA teacher, was good about allowing us to have speakers come in, so we increased that. And I know I would like to bring more of our graduates in. I know I had Jenna Strange come in one year and talk about, because she was flying smaller planes now, and I think she's flying Delta. So, you know, just some things like that. I think for them to realize you can do this too. We're from Knox County, and you can do cool stuff. And another new thing this year, there's an Apprentice Day going on in Moberly at the end of October, I think it is. And they're hoping, what the plan is to have recruiters from the union, private companies, state-operated organizations, being available to juniors and seniors to learn what job opportunities there are, and maybe even meet with a recruiter and start that process to find a career. Another thing I'd like to do a little differently, talking to parents. So our senior class, I've had parents like, do the recruiters come to school anymore? Yes, the Air Force recruiters come, you know, the Marines come. And then I've had like Capital Academy come, which is a program that is supposed to be working on that bridge, Mr. Carper, that's on Highway A, that collapsed. So they have, if you get accepted in the program, they pay for everything, and then you have employment in a lot of different areas involving mostly road and bridge construction. And so these are programs I feel like would be very interesting to a lot of our seniors. And so, in talking to parents, they're like, yes, I think it'd be great if we had like a parent night and the parents came in, because the students don't always share all these wonderful things with their parents, you know. So that's something I hope to do this year as well, and maybe even bring in the heavy equipment operator union or other unions that have come to talk to the kids, but now, you know, make the parents more aware of what's out there. Also would like to just keep increasing community involvement. They're really good to some businesses to donate prizes for awards, but try to establish some networks with them. For example, the last 2 summers, you know, Jared's Jams has taken some of our students and employed them. They've had a job coach. Like this summer, it was awesome. Like they worked on just those soft skills, you know, how to speak up for yourself. Like, you can do this, you know, I know you're quiet, or you feel like you're not a good reader, but you can do this and not let that limit you. And so I've been encouraging job shadowing. Dr. Lisa's office has been good about allowing job shadowing, dental hygiene again, but we've also had some go to Dr. Lindquist's office. Sadly, now we have to go to Kirksville, but to do vet tech job shadowing. And we did some job shadowing with Med Club that I started this year at Scotland County Hospital. And Scotland County Hospital, like, they would let you come in every day and do something. They've been awesome. So I also wanted to celebrate some successes of some of our students without naming names, but last year we had a senior male who graduated early. He is now, I really do not take any credit for just like checking on it, because he filled out the application to Missouri Welding Institute on his own, made a plan, and he's now employed at Embry Staff & Sons. And so these kiddos are, you know, finding some gainful employment. Another young man who graduated, not this year, but last year, graduated from John Deere Academy, and he's employed with site instructor in Macon. And he's kind of my braggy story, I guess, when my advisor asked, you know, because he was like, I am not doing anything. I am not going to school, I'm just gonna work on the farm. And hey, I'm married to a farmer, I get that. He would like to do that full time too. But he decided the John Deere school was kind of a cool opportunity, and he got accepted, and so he's moving to Macon, where he's got a job. And it was all paid for. Everything was paid for, housing, everything. And he got paid while he was in school. So we've got, I had a parent who stopped me in Hy-Vee, and my son was with me, and he's like, oh my goodness, we're gonna be in Hy-Vee for 2 hours. But she was just really proud and happy because her son, who graduated not this year, but last year, went to Trenton, to North Central, and is loving school and excited, and doing internships for Greenlee Research Center. He's gonna be graduating this May, and he's gonna continue his degree probably through Mizzou and probably have it paid for through the Greenlee Research Center. But He's kind of a quiet young man, and so that's great to see him blossom. One of our seniors that graduated this year is going to John Woods, manufacturing technology, and if I understand correctly, as an internship maybe with United Alloy, am I calling it an internship, apprenticeship?
Correct.
So, paid while he's going to school, yeah, so that's awesome. And, one of our seniors this year who was wanting to go to college decided, nope, not going. She's opening a daycare in town, it opens on Monday, local daycare, so.
Which is much needed.
Which is much needed in our community. So, you know, we've got a couple kiddos getting ready to graduate in May from State Tech. One of them did her internship this summer with Blackhawk Aerospace Technologies in Columbia, Missouri. They wanted her to quit school, and they said they were teasing her and said they'd triple her salary. I don't know that they would, or her pay, but maybe double if she would quit. Her mama is a teacher, so she knew that.
Career advisor.
I knew that wasn't gonna go, but she's fired up about that. Then our another early graduate from this year finished at Paul Mitchell Esthetician School, and then from there she's gonna go into nursing, and so she's about finished up, getting ready to go to nursing school. She applied to like 10 nursing programs, and so she's doing very well. So lots of success stories. I just grabbed a few. I didn't talk about our 4-year kids because they're still plugging away, but
On the graduating class, you probably can't break it down, but say how many of them hit the workforce versus college? I mean, is there an average that you
it
see?
depends. Like the year before, gosh, I had written numbers. So
And I thought maybe it was in here, I kind of glanced, but
yeah,
it's not, and it's
I
not
mean,
a
you
big
could go
deal.
by like, okay, like 68% of kiddos finished the FAFSA my first year, you know, but did they all actually go to
Right.
college? But
Right.
that was kind of the idea, where this year we had 52%, but we also had a little bit smaller class, you know,
Yeah.
so, more than that.
Just fun fact.
Yeah.
And I would say probably in the past 5 years, we're looking at probably 60% maybe going into the workforce, 40 going 2-year to 4-year degree. Would you say that's
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, that's probably about right, and like I said, some years you just have more than others,
Mhm.
so,
I think it'd be cool, not to add to you guys' workload, but it'd be cool to understand those data, because they could help us as a district here to understand like what needs, if we need to invest more in certain programs, like, that way we're doing the things here that are important to our students, and it'd be a cool thing to keep track of, to Alan's point, but to use it to help the students as it continue on.
I think, the Salesforce program I use, I think, we can generate that, because usually I'm supposed to like segment them in a category like military, and then it would kick out a list of percent. Now that they actually follow through with that,
Right.
you know, but
Right.
still give you a picture, but,
Great work.
so, so I think, that's all.
I attended the little graduation thing for the program they did at Jerry James.
Oh, yeah,
Amazing.
they did, I couldn't be there that day, but I visited the week before and practiced on it.
Yeah, it was pretty powerful stuff.
Yeah,
It was good to see some of those students that are really quiet here, and they did an outstanding job. It was really, so thank you for setting that up and for pictures up.
And Brenda and her husband are great with our community, very, empower inclusivity, so I appreciate that from them for sure.
okay, your turn.
I don't know that I can follow that
Oh.
up. My
You
list
can.
is very small compared to Ms. Carlson's, and I think she needs all the love and gratitude because she does do so much for our district. And I think, our kids are much better with her here and giving them an opportunity for a future. I mean, guys, she chases students down to make them do scholarships, to get, just information for their parents to have. So I appreciate you, and you're never leaving me, because I would not do student service like she does, so. I feel like we had a great year last year. I was finally provisionally licensed. I don't know if anybody's worked with the state before, but they're not fun, and they didn't really give me any grace on the paperwork that they needed, so got that done at the beginning of this year and started working with some kids on the mental health side of the counseling piece. I worked after school with some kids, and then I worked throughout the summer. Although it doesn't sound like a lot, I had 5 students, and I was able to give them my undivided attention without having to worry about if another student was gonna come into my office needing something. So, and I've seen progress with those students, so, from the summertime. So I'm proud of them, and I'm proud of myself for, you know, doing that and giving that service to our students and community. We did an enrollment night this year for 8th grade going into 9th grade, and I feel like that was a great success. I feel like the parents really appreciated being involved with their students' high school planning. And so there's this standard, it's rather new, that the state's requiring individual career and academic plans to be signed by parents. And so it's our plan to just expand those services and do 9th grade, 10th grade, and 11th grade enrollment nights, and encourage those parents to come and really have those intentional conversations of what is the future gonna look like for these kids. So really excited to do that and just enhance that communication with parents and community. And then our online students, so kind of like our at-risk kids, those numbers have increased, but they're still successful. So we have a very small percentage of our kids not being successful online. And I give credit to teachers because even though they're not required, they do reach out to their students and they know what their students need. And so they give them the support when it's not asked of our teachers. So we appreciate them so much. I don't think I have anything else. I tried to memorize my list. We had our second career day, and I feel like it was a success. We had new businesses and presenters come in, so it was nice to kind of have a new wave of careers that kids could explore. Planning on doing that this year. So if you guys have any input on people we should reach out to, or if you guys want to come and present to our students, we would love that. Either through the classroom or through our career day.
Is that like a speaker where they, like speakers, you select speakers, or is it, I think when I was in school, you may remember, but it seemed like there's like little booths or something, you walk around with each business or community thing, that way, they can just get a pamphlet or something. What is it now, I guess?
Usually, so what I heard you say was like kind of like a college fair. So
Right,
college fairs, you know, you kind of
Right.
set up in the gym and you kind of go to
Yeah.
what you're interested in. Our career day is kind of set up in classrooms, so we have rotations. I think we had like 20-minute rotations, and the presenters just get to give their input on their career, give students, you know, ideas of what they could do different within that career path.
We try to encourage them to be interactive, like, I know, Peter, you brought the welding, the simulated welding, and the kids thought that was awesome. So, you know, instead of just talking and lecturing to them, to try to be a little more engaging, which I think the nursing home, one year they did like a game.
Bingo, yeah.
Candy, you know.
And then Mark Twain this year, they brought stuff for like sensory play, so like making slime and all of that fun stuff that kids like to make.
We had the Mizzou band come too.
Yes,
About that. And
yes.
they came for free. It was like health simulations in this band. I didn't get to be in there very much, but yeah.
It was
kids
really
liked
cool,
those.
and there was a line, so hopefully we can have them back, if not at career day, just as a day for people to come and explore it, so.
Prairie Land brought their simulator sprayer, and the kids were lined, I mean,
They
it was
love that
real
too.
life, like you're driving your sprayer and spraying your crops, it's pretty cool. I wanted to take a turn, but the line was really long.
Correct me if I'm wrong, you guys actually, because some of our space being limited, I mean, because of wanting to try to reach other different types of businesses, I mean, you guys have also, you have people that wait, like almost like a wait list, right? I mean, there's some businesses that like, you just maybe didn't have space for, or some.
Right, I think that there was some businesses that were just like, is there an opportunity for us to come? And absolutely, we would love anybody and everybody to come, given the space to do so.
Right, yeah. That may be a challenge as this thing grows on.
That's why maybe
Yeah.
the booth, you could have some speakers and a booth type or something, maybe to get more and
The elementary old cafeteria, maybe, you know, like.
And we've had, like, so our fourth grade, comes down and does the career day with us with, you know, middle school, yep, fourth, fifth, yep. So, we're trying to incorporate district-wide, and it might be something that we can just expand those people down to other classrooms in the elementary. So I would love for it to be a big event and everybody to attend.
It's a good way to incorporate some of your alumni too, because
Mhm.
Nathan Goodwin came from Kirksville Police
Mhm.
Department.
Kids were
Our kids
lined
had
up
no
for
clue who
him.
that was, but you know, like, we all did, and how far he'd
Mhm.
come, you know, and all of that, and so that was really neat. But, I mean, but it's a good way to, yeah, bring in your alumni, bring in your community, so it's just a great way to kind of go.
And then the last thing that I have is, just advocating for, an increase in our science curriculum, or just course offering, because, just through the surveys and the assessments that Ms. Carlson and I give, healthcare and health sciences is a big, area of interest, and so we need to incorporate more of those health sciences, or just, you know, general sciences to our master schedule. We do have opportunity through Edmentum, which is the online platform we use for our online students. But some kids just need it to be in person and to really understand that material, so.
Has there been any talk recently about the CNA program? I mean, the nursing home right there is a perfect opportunity.
Yeah, and that's one of those community involvements that I would like to foster and encourage, so, yeah.
We need to set up some transportation at Quincy, because we got some options there, not just self-employed, but you know, there's a lot of opportunities there, that sometimes transportation's an issue, I know, for like, whether it be shadowing, whether it be, you know, what's that called, when you like they go to school for half the time, and they go to
Flex.
flex type stuff, you know. I have to make sure it makes sense, I guess, understanding from the value there, but, and it's hard, because you go all different directions with those things, but, it might be something to consider, what that, how that looks, what that could look like, depending on interests, yeah.
And I guess I have the career pathways, guide that I need to talk about, which is very minimal. Ms. Dobrinsky has added a couple new ag classes, so we updated her, course offerings and, description, so super excited about them. She's doing crop science, and then, the biotech, ag class, and anyways, it's gonna involve drones and learning about like spraying and all these cool things, so, super excited for it, and a lot of students are very interested, so.
So we need to buy the room. Add that to the list.
After we buy the chickens.
Chickens or drones? Chickens first. Good news is the chickens, the drone, you don't need to feed it. You don't keep them alive.
Chickens would be cheap.
I don't know, we'll see.
Feed the chickens with the drone.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.
I'll just jump over to PDC. So the professional development, I'm just the administrator liaison for it. So it's made up of 6 staff members between elementary, middle school, high school, and then like your special programs, just so that everybody is represented. Because you know, when we talk about PDC, we're talking about the training that goes on within the district. You know, so like when we have those professional development days, like PDC committee is the one who kind of puts that all together. The majority of the things that are done through PDC all fall from the state. So the state says you have to do dyslexia training, the state says you have to do, you know, safe schools, you know, they tell you you have all of these things to do. And so what we started doing a couple of years ago is we start in the summer and we just lay the calendar out and say, okay, how can we fit all of this in that's required of the state, and then look at, okay, now let's do the things that we know that we need as a district as well, and then work on that. And then if we've got wiggle room, can we bring anybody in as a guest speaker? Because that's been really, really great for the staff. They love that. last year we had Dave Burgess, who is the author of Teach Like a Pirate, come, and he got sick right in the middle of our presentation, so he had to leave. So we have him coming again on Monday, so we're really excited about him though, because his presentation is very interactive, so the staff are super excited about him coming back. It would be a good way to kick off the year, so we're excited about that. But where does PDC get their information from? At the end of every professional development day, they get a survey, they tell us what they liked, what they didn't like. But all of you know, one of the challenges with that is you can't always please everybody, you know, at the same time. So, so we do though use that broad spectrum of people in the group to how do we make the majority of people happy with this training, because we have to, you know, we have to do it. So dyslexia training is a big one. We've done it a variety of ways. We've watched the DESI videos, which are boring. We've brought speakers in, and sometimes the speakers cater more to the elementary than they do to the upper, you know, to the older teachers, and that's just kind of part of it, because, you know, when you're teaching LA 4, they know how to read by the time they get to you, you know, whereas in kindergarten, we're still working on sounds and letter reversals. So, you know, when they present dyslexia, sometimes our older teachers are like, why am I here? But it's one of those state required things. So we use the survey data to drive, you know, their needs, their wants, after we fill in the, this is required by the state. So like on our SWOT here on this, just some of the things that we've done, just kind of talking about again that we try to incorporate multiple trainings in a day if we can, meaning like if I have something that's relevant for elementary but not high school, I'll talk with, you know, Alex before, but talk with Troy now about, hey, what do your teachers need? How do we make the most out of this day? And the same with paras, you know, because our paraprofessionals are also here on those days, so how do we give them the training that they need, because them sitting through curriculum writing is irrelevant to them. So how do we give them the training that they need? So we all kind of, even though I'm the liaison, kind of work with all of them too to make sure that we're encompassing everybody. So actions to be taken is just for us to continue to implement the best PD that we can, reaching outside the box. It's always nice when you can have people from within your district be your trainers, but sometimes it's nice to have somebody outside to come in. So we try to mix that up, because we do have a, we are lucky that we have a lot of people here who could provide everything that we need. But again, hearing it from, you know, someone at RPDC, someone from MSTA, just sometimes makes those messages a little, you know, stick a little bit harder. So I think one of the things for us is just to continue to bring presenters in, if we can, just because that does seem to be one of those things the staff has really, really enjoyed. You know, over the years, they have really enjoyed kind of having that fresh burst of, all right, we've got this, you know, like we can do this, which is kind of what Dave Burgess does, you know, or we had, gosh, I'm drawing Jerry Brooks, you know, we went to Scotland County and saw that a few years ago, and that was phenomenal. So just things like that, how we can continue to do that, because we run on a budget that's provided by the state, so it's not like you can say, hey, we'll give you more money so you can have more things. We run on a budget from the state that says, here's how much, and you have to spend a certain percentage of that every year to make sure that you're doing it. We have no problem with spending it. So PDC is the ones who sends teachers to trainings, you know, teachers apply for funds. So yeah.
Is the active shooter, is that on this kind of day, or is that
Yeah.
like it be
No.
before school?
So it's before school, but it's
encapsulated in this
yes.
or something?
Yeah.
I think that's a good.
Yeah, and it's a big long day for us, and through the years, you know, we've kind of evolved the ways that we've done it, because like in this building, it's very different from the elementary, so we practice in the specific building, so that, again, kind of that making it fit everybody. If the elementary teachers are practicing up here, it's kind of irrelevant for down there, because our rooms are different, so we've molded that and changed that over the time.
And that's Thursday.
Yeah, and that's,
We'll open up
yeah,
with that.
let's say that's our day one.
He did it with the bus drivers the last week.
And new
teachers.
Yeah.
New teachers,
And new
the long
teachers,
ones.
yeah, because our new teachers, they kind of got more, you know, because everybody else has seen it, done it. Now we'll do more work with that with Keith on Thursday. But our new teachers, they probably had the background from previous districts, but
see
We
how
want
do
you,
it.
right, but we want you trained our way, so. Any questions about that part of PDC?
Okay, entertain a motion for approval of all of those.
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Opposed, motion carries.
Pathways guide, she's
I
already
say,
presented.
it's me again, so.
Wait a minute, we gotta approve the career pathways guide.
Oh,
She's
okay.
already presented it.
Yeah.
She knows,
was wondering how you were doing
I was,
that.
that's what I was wondering. Okay, so for career pathways, we entertain a motion for approval of that.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed, motion carries 6-0.
Then PDC and then training.
Yeah, so, the two things that you have there for PDC are just what is the professional development plan for the year, and then the mentor-mentee handbook for the year. And so the professional development plan just lays out, for you kind of a rough outline of how we propose that we will spend the money. You know, so, if you kind of scroll through that document, there's like a proposed PDC budget, you'll see that like the estimated amount that we have this year is $8,681 to spend on services. And it just gives you a very rough breakdown of, you know, kind of how that money is allocated. The appendix portion of that just lets you know this is when we have meetings, and then these are the forms that teachers use if they want to request funds. So I want to go to a conference next week, you have to fill this out, and it has to be approved by PDC before you can do that. So that's just also like the reimbursement for meals, which is all approved, you know, and for like mileage reimbursement based off of things that we've approved here before. So that's in here. But those documents have to be, you can't just fill it out the day of and say, hey, by the way, I want to go to a conference. Like, you have to have prior approval from the committee. So you'll see down there, there's spots for everybody on the committee to initial and say, yes, I approve this, or no, I don't approve it. Very rarely is it a no approval. If it's a no approval, it's because we don't have money. So we try to send anybody to PD. It's valuable, so we try to send them if there is a legitimate need for it. So the mentor-mentee handbook just outlines for you what our, you know, like what our mentoring program looks like. So in that, it'll have for you who the first and second year, which is really the only thing that changes in here other than dates, because the rest of it is like state required information. So this year, you know, our new staff, Savannah and Ashley are first years, even though Ashley has experience, not certified in the area that she's at, so that's why she's in that. But then as you look down at your second years, you'll see that Alex and Caitlin are in second years because they've both completed the beginning teacher program at their previous schools. And then, so that second year is more of a, let's give you like Knox County mentoring, let's talk, you know, we kind of train them on all the things that we do here. So they've gone through the teacher training, which is a lot that you get in your first year, and the second year is more of, here's really how things, you know, kind of go here. That's really the only thing that changes in the mentor-mentee handbook, is just updating that and the dates. So, any questions on those two things?
Okay, now entertain a motion for the PDC plan mentoring handbook for 2024-2025.
So,
Second.
All in favor? Motion carries 6-0. Okay, we'll move to federal programs, end of year report, 23-24.
This is just, a required report that we do that summarizes how we use our, Title I money. So all of our money is put into Title I-A, which supports our reading and math, interventions. And the majority is of course salaries and benefits. And then we've been fortunate the last couple of years with our purchase services, that most of that has been coming out of learning loss, from COVID. So in the future, that amount will go up as we pay for iReady and those type of things. And then we spent a lot of money, and materials and supplies to address the RS reading success plans. And making sure that they have leveled readers and all the resources teachers need, so the supplies budget was a little higher this year, but that is how we've spent that money.
Any questions? Not entertain a motion for approval of the 23-24 federal program expenditure report. So moved. All in favor? Okay, MACC dual credit agreement for 24-25.
This is just an agreement that we've done over the last several years, partnering with MACC, Overly Area Community College, to offer our students dual credit. We teach several in-house with Dr. Noon, Amy McNabb, and some Rich Green, and then we also offer online dual credit, so we'll just continue that partnership.
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Opposed, motion carries. ASBR report 23-24.
Annual Secretary of the Board report, and basically it's just a summation of all the expenditures and revenues that you guys approved last year, and so it just finalizes it, and then here in a couple months, the auditors will have a report for you guys to approve that's gonna just double check everything that we
Tell
have.
us we don't have enough staff in the county.
They'll tell us we don't have enough bookkeepers, and we have too many superintendents.
We gotta pass for one of those.
Yeah.
One of them's part-time carpenter, so that's how we get around that.
That's right.
Oh, it's good to know, Alex.
It's gotta be a stipend somewhere for that.
Yeah.
Entertain a motion for approval of that.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed, motion carries. Copier quotes.
All right, so, our copier quotes go for 5 years, and it's kind of a lease. It's like the banks own the copiers, and then we lease the copiers, and so we had 3 companies submit quotes, so we went through the quotes. Some of the companies quoted slower machines, and we asked for a specific rate, because I guarantee you, the minute a secretary or a teacher gets in there and the machine's slower, we're gonna hear about it. So.
No matter how fast they are, they're still slow.
Exactly. So ours currently have 70 sheets per minute, and I asked that it be the same or more. So several of them, to give me better prices, offered 55 sheets per minute, 65 sheets per minute. Then they'd also offer like a 75 sheet per minute. And then one company even offered, we'll give you some refurbished ones, they'll be a lot cheaper. Well, you know, our copiers we've had for 5 years, and guess what, as much as we use them, they're starting to break down a lot more, and then when they go down, it's tough. Yeah, and you have a lot of people, when you talk, we make about 60,000 black and white copies a month, probably somewhere around 2,600 color copies a month, and we only have one color copier, and it's in the central office. So in going through currently we have GFI digital, so we got a bid from them, and we got a bid from Golden Ruler out of Quincy, and then ProTech out of Kirksville. And so I put the numbers together today. Let me pull it up so I can tell you which is, I can find it. Okay. So what I did is, there's a monthly charge, and then so much per copy, and everybody's was a little bit different. So I took everybody's bid, their lowest bid that was at least 70 pages per minute, because that's what we asked for. GFI came in at a monthly cost of $1,096, which would be a yearly cost of $13,161. That's given if we made the same amount of copies that we made last year. That would be the cost. Golden Ruler came in at $12,293.60 for the whole year. And then ProTech came in at $11,940.48 per year. So ProTech came in a little lower. And of course, when we look at this, you could sit here and say, because service is a big deal.
That's gotta be a huge part of this.
And so a couple of these vendors have been in our central office like almost every day and buying donuts, and it's like, this isn't working for me. It's kind of irritating me. But then when they sell you the devices, then you don't see them until 5 years later. And it's like, yeah, don't give me this. So service is a big deal. So the fact that ProTech came in as the lowest bid, and they're here every week regardless, checking on, and this would be the same guy, I don't know if you guys know Rob or not, but he would be checking on us to make sure our printers are working well. I'd like to recommend that we go with
And this is
ProTech.
a refurbished one.
No, these are brand new.
Yeah.
And our lease actually doesn't end till December. We've got it set up on a 5-year schedule to where during Christmas break, they take out the old machines, put the new, so we come in January and we're ready to roll.
Does that cost per machine, or is that total? I'm just curious.
So like ProTech, the $570 a month, that's leasing the machines.
Right.
That's for 4 machines. And then it's so much, it's 50 cents.
Per copy,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
like so much,
The
5
cost-
cents per copy, and
Yeah, the cost you said was every unit total.
yeah,
Like all
if
together.
we did the same amount of
Right.
copies, the lease and the cost per copy for the whole year.
Okay. I was just curious.
So what's your cost over your projected amount? So if you use 60,000 a month, if you use over that, how much do you have to pay?
It's just
5
the
cents.
cost of the copies.
Is it 5 cents?
Yeah, it's 5 cents for black and white, and it's 45 cents, or 4 cents. It's a half a cent for black and white, and it's 4.5 cents per color. So,
Over 60,000, not counting the colors.
colors.
But you get
about
60,000
2,000.
with your
Lease.
lease.
It's all.
Yeah, you get so many for your lease, and then after that, you figure in how much per copy, so
So moved.
it's kind of a complex.
Yep.
My copiers could be so.
That's why I was wondering if that was per cost. I don't know.
All in favor? Okay, we'll set the tuition rate.
All right, there's a calculation for tuition rate that the state provides. And basically, you look at your expenditures, you subtract out what you get for tax dollars, for state dollars, not tax dollars. Because if someone's coming from out of the county into our county, we'll get the state money because they'll be counted in our attendance. But we won't necessarily get the tax dollars because they don't live in the community. So the formula is designed to make it to where if this student comes, you're not gonna be out any money and taking away from other students. And we've been pretty close, at $9,500 is what we have tuition set. A lot of schools around us are at 6,000. The formula would generate that we could go up to 11,000, but at 9,500, we feel that's fair, like we're not taking money away from other students. But when you do the calculation, it'll escalate it quite a bit. So I'd like to recommend that we keep it at 9,500 per student for now, for this.
Have you had anybody yet? Like recently, I should say.
No, the last one we had was when Gorn was still open and they could select where they send their students, and we had a student attend from Gorn, and obviously Clark County had to pay the tuition, so.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
I move that we adjourn the regular session to go into closed session for the purpose of considering the personnel under section 610.021 subsections 3 and 13
Mr. Parrish?
Yes.
Mrs. Bew?
Yes.
Mrs. Jansen?
Yes.
Mrs. Devlin?
Yes.
Mr. Doss?